We do actually have a pretty stacked lineup today. We're gonna be talking about our week in Aspen. We're gonna be talking about some recent MLP drama around my teammate Kyle Yates. We're gonna be talking about new paddle standards in the sport regarding color on paddles, which I think is long overdue, and I'm really excited about that. We're gonna be talking about the Takeya, which is this week. All my prep for that, who I'm playing with. The draws came out today. So yeah, pretty stacked lineup. Kristin, did I miss anything? Can we hop into the first topic?
Yeah, I think you covered most of it, and lots of fun little ditties in between.
You tuned in now to this pickleball life. I'm K-Dubs and Jilly B is my wife. She's the pro and I've got the filler. She's sweet to me, but on the court she's a killer. Unadulterated and efficiently bringing you the best and worst things in PB. Tell your friends and stay for another. And no one loves us more than your mother. One thing's for sure, one hit and you're addicted. Grab a pile, grab a court, don't resist it. So click subscribe, let's go, let's get cracking. Things on gun, let's go, let's get laughing. This pickleball life.
Welcome everybody back to the pod, This Pickleball Life, your favorite comedy podcast disguised as a pickleball podcast, where we discuss anything and everything including pickleball. I'm Kristin Walla, aka K-Dubs, pickleball enthusiast, DUPR 4.09, golf pro, and armchair sports psychologist, as well as the founder of PB Gods.
And I'm Jillian Braverman, aka your girl, Jilly B, top 20 in the world pro pickleballer, former tech CEO at DUPR, and chief of staff at Major League Pickleball, and co-host of this awesome pod, This Pickleball Life.
So, let's see what's happening on pod number 17.
I saw what you did there, and I liked it.
It was a stretch. Not my best. All right, Jill. Do you have some words for our audience?
I have some words for our listeners at home. I'm sorry.
We're sorry.
We owe you a very formal and serious apology. We said we were going to do a podcast last week and we didn't. And we know what you were thinking.
I know. You're out there thinking it's the Powerball. They are that California couple that won the Powerball. And unfortunately, that is not what happened. Although we did spend $100 on behalf of our families for Powerball tickets that did not go our way. I think it's because we bought in Colorado. That was the problem.
Mom, you still owe me $25 for the $100 of tickets I bought for Powerball.
You are not getting your cut of the $4 we won. But yes, I knew it was a lofty goal. I knew I'd be coming out of surgery. The real reason we did not do a pod, as evidence, I put these fake bandages on my knee to pretend I had surgery. No, I'm just kidding. But I did go into the knife. I did have ACL and meniscus reparative surgery, which apparently is the worst part because I have to be on crutches for 6 weeks. But, back to narcotics. What were you going to say?
Well, so I kind of underestimated Kristin's ability to form words for the first, 3 days after surgery.
I think that's a stretch. It's so much less about the word formation and more about the horizontalness and the, proximity to ice.
So she was partaking in some casual class 1 drug use. She was on Norco for only a day and a half. And, I learned, unfortunately, firsthand or fortunately, just how strong Norco is because, ladies and gentlemen, and no, I'm not kidding, I was cutting her Norco in thirds.
With baby powder. Just kidding. In an effort not to get addicted to opioids. Jill sold herself. She slaved herself. She threw herself on the train tracks for me by using her teeth to break my Norco into thirds.
That is correct. And in turn, I guess I intook what they call magic dust. What do they call that?
I think they say glitter.
Oh, glitter. Okay. Well, I guess that's what the cool kids call it. But I had a great night's sleep. Actually slept till 8 a.m., which I really haven't done probably since high school or college. So long story short, I'm happy you're off the drugs so that I can be off the drugs.
Yes. In case you were wondering, we are morning people. But also not hooked on opioids. Honestly, I think it's super overboard. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things like after the fact, nothing seems as bad, but I don't think I ever actually needed opioids. Like, I would have been fine on just Tylenol. Plus, they gave me a leg block, so my whole leg was numb for like 5 days. Not my whole leg. It was like it went out in succession. Like the upper leg came back to me first, and then the knee, and then like my shin was numb for like 5 days. But whatever, I'm okay. Thanks to Nice, a really awesome borrowed gift from our friend who is also an orthopedic surgeon. Not the orthopedic surgeon who cut me up, but it's basically like a compression sleeve ice machine, and it does the cycles for you, so you don't have to put the timer on. It's like 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off. The water flows in, you plug it into the wall. It's a game changer.
It is a game changer, and Game Changer does make a similar concept machine, literally called Game Changer.
Pretty sure LeBron owns part of that company.
I think my MLP team owner, LeBron James, owns part of that company as
Throw
well.
Throw us a bone, anyone, everyone. We believe in ice, baby. You thought that 2 whole episodes of recovery was going to cover it all? No, sir.
Oh,
no, sirree.
But, it definitely makes me very grateful for the little things your better half does. Things like cleaning up the lizards that our orange tabby Toby brings into the house. And these aren't like bite-sized.
Shout out to Toby. He got a 3-peat this morning.
Oh, he just woke up hearing his name. But these aren't like, bite-sized, space-efficient lizards. These things are like Charizards. They're like prehistoric. They have like
salamander, iguana sized rats that have like
horns and wings and like
those little jagged things on the head, like a Quasimodo. What do they call it in the Galapagos?
Something
monster.
Oh my gosh. And so yesterday he brings one of these like 6-pound lizards home, and I go to like grab it, and Toby like claws at the lizard, claws at me, he's growling at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, lizard. I tried to save your life. I really did. But my cat's about to like attack me and eat me next. And so it's like the little things like that, plus like building stuff, packing the car, unpacking the car.
It's true. Jill does all the important things, and I just do the dishes and pack the car. Basically, that's how our workload breaks down. And anything that involves climbing on the roof. So sadly,
it's funny.
Hopefully we don't need to climb on the roof for like 6 or 7 months.
Well, it's funny. Kristin's like, isn't this going to make you just so appreciative of all the little things that I do? I'm like, yeah, or resentful, one of the two. Yeah, somewhere in between those two feelings is where I'm landing right now.
Yeah, so long story short, we know it's been 2 weeks, and we're facing the other direction because I cannot move the furniture to set up the pod, and I was not about to go an hour with my legs not being up. So here we are, and we got a full stacked lineup. I feel like the less you play pickleball, the more we have to talk about somehow.
That's true. I did not play Seattle last week,
or Beer City.
And as I said to a friend that asked me, why didn't you play Seattle? I was like, because I don't want to play 26 events in a year. Like I didn't know how else to answer the question. But yeah, I also pulled my hamstring in Denver, which we'll get to a little bit later. So that was another reason.
Yes. So lucky to have the ice machine, lucky to have Beamer, lucky to have each other. But yeah, really, I felt like coming out of it, like one of those TV shows where the character has like a near-death experience and they're like flipping the light switch on and off. The miracle of electricity. You're like, oh my God, carrying a coffee cup 10 feet. I can't do that. Like using your hands to actually have to walk really eliminates a lot of things. It's kind of like I always love about the ukulele that I can sing while I'm playing because all I need is my hands. But if you play a woodwind instrument like the flute, like Lizzo, you can either sing or you can flute. You can't do both at once, So that's how I feel about crutching. But at least my arms are going to be ripped, 6 weeks later, hopefully. Also probably going to have like calluses under my armpits. But again, shout out to our friends Matt and Kim. not the singing artists, but those who donated the nice ice machine and the awesome crutches. I have like the top of the line crutches for the next 6 weeks with like shock absorbers and like articulating arms. So
it can do
ergonomic
everything.
Handles.
Yeah, the crutches can do everything except pack
Carry
the
a
car.
cup of coffee.
Pack the car, carry a cup of coffee, make me the coffee that you usually make me in the morning.
Yeah.
Clean up the lizard blood from the floor. But yeah, other than that, the crutches are awesome and we're doing just fine.
Yeah, I am
no
crushing
problems
it
here.
in the watching documentaries category of things, watching pickleball, watching social media to glean inspiration for future posts. So I'm crushing it in that department, but not so useful.
In all seriousness, we do actually have a pretty stacked lineup.
Yeah, let's get to it. But before we move on, I did want to say one thing that I wanted to remind you that you said last week that you are clearly already regretting. And that is, remember, when you start to feel better, do less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Learn that the hard way yesterday. All right. Well, let's hop into it. So I have, for those of you that didn't catch this on the last podcast, I am going to Pickleball Heaven, and that is Tres Palapas Resort in Baja, Mexico, started by Paul and Sally, two amazing forward-thinking Canadians, and literally this place is heaven. 60 seconds from the beach, you golf cart everywhere. Super friendly town. The food is incredible. The drinks keep flowing. The pickleball courts are pristine. I think they have 8 or 10. There's on-site accommodations. It's literally magic. The weather's in a constant state of 80 degrees. I think in 8 years, they've only had 2 days where they couldn't play due to weather, which is pretty incredible numbers.
And in the words of Paul and Sally, we don't do anything small. So when we started this project, we went for it. We did it the best. We built more courts than we needed.
Yep.
And they've had a lot of successful trips
Ton
down
of success. Ben Johns, Kyle Yates, Irina Tereshchenko, Tyson. They've taken groups. So my point is I'm taking 8 people. It's going to be a really small group. We're going to spend 3 days. So if you love me, if you love the way I teach, if you want to get better at pickleball while having an amazing time in Mexico, I have 2 spots left, but you have to be awesome. You have to be cool because it's a really cool group.
We're taking applications for these spots.
And super affordable when you break it down on a per hour basis for all the instruction. And it's pretty cheap to get to. So yeah, if you're interested, you can hit us up at thispblife@gmail.com.
Don't miss it. Yeah, October 12th.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, October 15th through the 23rd is when I'll be there. And then the actual 3-day masterclass clinic days are going to be, I believe it's the 16th, 17th, and 18th of October. Thank you, Kristin.
Awesome. Yeah, super looking forward to being there, despite the fact that I will not be able to play any pickleball. But I will bring the ukulele. So, this podcast today is brought to you by our good friends over at Groovin. Jill, tell us a bit more about Groovin.
Oh, man. I mean, I spent 6 months testing every single paddle known to mankind, and hands down, Groovin makes the best paddles. They have a paddle for everyone as their tagline, and they really do. So they've got
cool. Yeah, they're a Canadian company. They have some of the spinniest, grittiest paddles as well as the hottest paddles. So many shapes. We got all the shapes in.
Yep.
Then we're going to do a cute video showing all the shapes and sizes and colors. They do great like edge guard accent colors.
And thermoformed. So they have a raw series and the move-in thermoformed.
That's what Jill plays now.
Those paddles go night in basically every single firefight.
Absolutely. And really long handles, which are great for those two-handed backhand players like Jill. But use that Jilly B discount code for 10% off at groovin.co. That's GRUVN.co for 10% off. And yeah, don't delay. Stop looking for the next magic paddle because we searched high and low and we found it, and it is Groovin.
So, Kristin, I would love to talk about the Major League Pickleball controversy
Is it a controversy? But you're talking about the ruling that we received yesterday?
For those of you that don't know, Kyle Yates is on our MLP team, the New York Hustlers, owned by
He's a hustler, baby.
owned by LeBron James. And it was, very fortunate to grab him where we did. I think we grabbed him, Kristin, at the 20th position.
Second round, so 5, and yeah, it must have been 20.
And we were able to grab him. And obviously this is Challenger, so this is, very clearly a premier player with just immense skill. And he, at the time, had indicated on his draft application that he would be unavailable to participate in the first event, hence he was going so low in the draft. And I think even at one point we had hesitated as a team whether or not to even really engage in dialogue with him because, he was going to miss the first event. But thankfully we did. And literally right before and during the draft, we just did a little bit of extra due diligence, and we reached out to him and said, is there any chance you might be able to play the first event? And he said, actually, there's been some happenings just in the past, couple of days that are leading me to believe, like, yeah, I actually might be able to, which was crazy, awesome news for us, right? Like, what a steal.
Absolutely.
And so we went ahead and obviously drafted Kyle, and we never thought that there would be any type of backlash because there was no precedent for denying a player who changed their mind. But yeah, it definitely ruffled a lot of feathers for other owners who didn't do the due diligence to find out oh my gosh, this total threat can play all 3 events. So the commissioner of MLP, Brooks Wiley, sent all the players this note and said it was recently presented to the competition committee that Kyle Yates should be ineligible to play MLP Peachtree Corners due to information on his draft application noting that he was expected to be unavailable to play that event. Those previous commitments have since fallen through. The official decision of the commissioner is that Kyle Yates may play for the New York Hustlers for the first event in September. In the absence of a written rule stating that notes in the player draft application are binding, the league should not punish the player or the team and must allow the player to be able to compete. This decision is final and supported by the MLP rules. Then there was one more text that kind of was a further clarification. And so, yeah, do you have any questions, thoughts, Kristin, on any of that? I mean, I think it's a super interesting topic.
I think even just 2 out of 3 events would have been super valuable to have Kyle. And as a lot of people probably would agree, the men's field is deeper. So I still think you guys could have won with any number of the guys that didn't end up getting drafted at all. I mean,
and it was going to be Callan Dawson. We were looking between, Wyatt Stone and Callan.
And I think, especially after this week, both Callan and probably Pat Smith will probably get picked up after this first one. So that's part of the fun of Challengers, to see who drops and picks up. Mm-hmm. But really, really excited to have Kyle for all 3. I think I was saying this yesterday, it's one thing to not have Kyle in the third one, but to not have him in the first one, it really sort of sets the tone for the rest of the season. So super stoked that he's going to be there from the get-go.
Super stoked, and I think we're going to do some training with.
Decision.
We're going to do some training with Jaume Martinez-Vic, our other teammate, Kyle, and myself. In a couple 3 weeks, we're going to go to Denver and all train for a little bit of time.
Nice. Yeah. So also not so smooth a transition, but did you have anything more to add on that ruling? I think it's pretty.
Well, I think
self-explanatory,
I
simple.
think that I always try and think about these things like the inverse and the parallel. So, like AJ Kohler, I think, is missing the first day of the first event due to a friend's or maybe a family member's wedding that he's participating in. So if, that friend breaks off their engagement or there's a change in venue and date, wouldn't we all rejoice that AJ Kohler could play, right? So I try and think about these in slightly different ways. So I understand though because I co-authored last season's rules when I was chief of staff at Major League Pickleball working with Kit Harper, Brooks Wiley, Steve Kuhn, Brian Levine, we all did like a full overhaul of the rules. So I also see it from like a league standpoint, which is, well, this information altered the draft, right? It altered like the course of the draft, the information that Kyle wouldn't be able to participate. So I also see how it's like slightly different. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Totally. No, I'm sure if we didn't have, hadn't, or you hadn't asked Kyle and had the information you did and went through this whole draft and some other team picked up Kyle, you'd be like, whoa, wait, now he can play all
Sure.
three. I get that, like, that is going to be frustrating for some teams, but ultimately I think the grandest point here is that you want to encourage this.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good thing. You want intelligent and forward-thinking gamesmanshiping and efforts behind the scenes
owners.
To have an edge, to research, to know everything you can know about these players. And I think that the teams that are putting in the due diligence and really taking the draft seriously and doing as much research and as much back work as they can are really going to come out ahead in the long run. So it'll be interesting to see how long MLP keeps this system of drafting before it turns into whatever
more
they
of like
do
a
for
free agency
maybe
model.
like you keep 3 players and just draft 1 each year. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how that evolves, and that's half the fun of
So
the
fun.
storylines of MLP. I think is like how the rules evolve and what comes up, and like subbing and how alternates work has evolved and all sorts of other things. So I liked what Tim Parks said about like, if we're not making rules, and this doesn't necessarily pertain particularly to this Kyle thing, but in general, if we're not trying to push the limits and change things and try things that we then roll back because we realize they didn't work, we're not trying hard enough.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. So
And I didn't, there was no gamesmanship on Kyle's part where he was like, I'm going to purposefully tank myself to challenge her.
Right. Right.
There
So
was
don't
no
punish him further.
Yeah. Like, trust me, if there's anyone who wishes they would have had this information sooner, it's Kyle, so he could be on a
that's a
premier
really
team.
good point.
Just kidding. He really just wanted to be on like my team, Sarah's team, Jaume's team.
Giant plot.
But yeah, plot twist. But my point is, what was so fascinating going through this exercise was the fact that in a lot of other leagues, most major sports leagues, that, I don't know if you call it gamesmanship, exists all the time, where players will like purposefully tank an interview with a team that they don't want to play for. Mm-hmm. Like, it's super fascinating.
No, and I think there's a certain truth to that. Like, if you don't want to be on a certain team with a certain type of, ownership or energy, like, they probably shouldn't draft you. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, that I think is an interesting segue to some other rules.
Yeah.
Did you want to give your 2 cents on how to explain the rules of pickleball to a first timer in the simplest way possible?
Well, I want your guys' opinion listening to this. What is the easiest way to explain at the most basic level the rules of pickleball to a total newbie who's stepping on the court for the very first time and just wants to have fun, in their first couple of times? So you're not going to get into like the scoring, just like at its fundamental core, can we all agree on like the 2 or 3 things to tell your friend who's stepping on a court for the first time? So I think I know what the simplest explanation is. I want to hear your guys' opinions at home.
Absolutely. And I think we have all been there. Like, literally, even if you've only played pickleball for a week, you've probably already met a person who's like, oh, I've never played before. So whether you've played a week, a year, or a lifetime, like, we're all sitting there trying to go, oh, okay, like, what's the absolute essential thing you need to know to go have fun playing pickleball? So start with the start.
Okay, I think you start by asking your friend, do you know what a volley is? So if they say, I don't, you say a volley is hitting the ball in the air before it bounces. So anytime you catch the ball in the air, that's a volley. So once your friend has that basic understanding, I think the rest is easy. So here are the rules. You can't serve and volley. If you or your partner are serving, you can't serve and volley. Don't volley in the kitchen. So you see how the first 2 rules have that word like volley. That's why I think it's really important to define it. And then here's the 3rd rule I think is important. only one person out of 4 starts at the net. So if you're at the net and you see someone else at the net, one of you are wrong. That's like the easiest way to conceptualize who should be at the net, in my mind at least. So 3 rules. Don't serve and volley. Don't volley in the kitchen. Only one person at the net, and it's the receiving team.
So keeping with your earlier theory, if you take all of those, it's like, okay, what if they take that and mess up everything else? So then you have, okay, so you've got 4 people and they're not serving cross court. Oh, well, who cares? What if they're serving with their foot over the line? Oh, well, who cares? Like, what if they rip the ball into the net? Okay, well, obviously that point is over. What if they don't realize that the first time you serve, only one person gets to serve and not the other?
Yeah, who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you imagine 4 like total newbies and they're just whacking a ball over a net to the other person, as long as they don't get the idea that they can crash in and rip a volley after after the serve and return, that's pretty much the game. It's totally true. And it is funny how you get so into the weeds that you start convincing yourself that these things that were like hard for you to conceptualize in the beginning are the important part, but they're really not.
Yep, I couldn't agree more with that. I would even start them rally scoring, to be totally honest.
Or whatever scoring.
Whatever scoring,
as long
doesn't
as
matter.
they score the same. Even if they took ping pong rules and were like, I'm going to serve 5 times, then you serve 5 times. Again, like who really cares?
Just make sure they're having fun.
Yeah, as long as both teams are kind of on board, you're playing something, and it involves a wiffle ball and a paddle and a pickleball court, so you're definitely having fun. I love that. So yeah, let us know. What do you think are the most important 3 or 4 things to learn about pickleball?
Sorry, I just had the best idea for a video. I want to dress you up in a police outfit.
I already love it.
You already love it, with a like a badge that says Fun Police, and I want to send you, because you basically are the Fun Police, but that's another story for another time.
No, you're totally right. It's like the rules Nazi on the golf course.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with a whistle, and I'm going to blow it when someone has a kitchen violation and be like, your toe was over the line.
So oh my God, we have no independent thoughts. So I want to dress Kristin up in a little police uniform that says Fun Police on her badge. I want to send her to the public courts where there's just, tons of rec play happening, and I want her to call foot faults with a whistle. With a whistle, and I want to film it in secret and see people's reactions to her whistling and screaming foot fault. And then you can go foot fault, right foot, right toe, and like you could do it super official.
Oh, I can't wait.
Or we could just get you a ref out. Oh, we could just get you a ref outfit.
No, I like the idea of Fun Police
We could do the Leo Rever outfit.
It is that. Yeah, the Leo Rever. The outfits that Jay de Villiers is wearing, which look like a ref outfit because they're like literally the Foot Locker pinstripe vertical black and white. So funny. Somewhere in an office building, 6 people agreed that was a good idea to put that product out there. And then they sent it to the printers, and they made it, and they marketed it, and they asked Jay de Villiers what size he was, and they shipped it to him.
I think some things got lost in translation when it got sent to the printers.
Oh my gosh. So funny. But yeah, so keep it simple, guys. Keep it fun.
Can we really do this video of you being the Fun Police in a ref outfit?
I mean, in what world
are
do
we
you
not
think
doing this?
We're not doing this?
You can be on crutches.
I've said yes 7 times, but I guess that means no. So speaking of yes, no, your Hammy. Hammy took a little tweaking.
Yeah, so I
must be a high altitude problem.
Yeah, I twinged my hamstring in Denver. I heard it pop. I couldn't walk for like 3 days, and they said 3 weeks to recover, 2 weeks fully off. And I was like, but I have a Beamer. Watch this. And I was literally like Beamering every single day, and I got it to the point where like 5 days after the injury, I was like dinking. And then just slowly worked up from there. And then yesterday was playing rec play with some pros in town, obviously for Orange County. And I just felt it twinge again. So I've had to pull out of mixed Friday with Jaume, my MLP partner, which is super unfortunate. I was looking forward to playing with him, but I've got to just like rest it so I can go out and crush with Sarah Ansbury. And I really like our draw. If we get through our first round, we're going to be playing Elise Jones and my partner from the last event in Denver, Hurricane Tyra Black. I heard she's going to be wearing new shoes.
That is going to be some defense.
Yeah, Elise and Tyra are going to be hard to get through.
Does that mean I might see some lobs and some drop shots?
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Finally. Yes.
Yeah, no, Sarah's famous for the lob. Going up.
I do feel like you did a lot more drop shots when you played the gearbox. Is that true or false?
I don't know. I did use a drop shot more, let's put it that way.
It's interesting how sometimes as you develop any skill, like I do this in golf, teaching especially, but playing too, where you're like, you rediscover something you used to do a lot and you're like, why have I not been using this drill? Why have I not been telling people this, this cute tidbit that worked so well? I just forget that it's great and start moving on to other new tricks. And I think sometimes that happens.
I totally get that.
But yeah, I mean, super bummed I will be here watching on TV. So hopefully someone can send me some video. If anyone's at the Los Cab facility and they want to hit me up with some video, please DM me. I will give you my phone number, or maybe you can live cast. But it should be a fun event. It's a great venue. The Brashes kind of run that place. It's a new facility. And it's basically a home event for Jill in Orange County, even though we live 2 hours away, but the rest of her family's there.
Yeah, you're pretty useless to me if you can't hold a banana and crutch. So you might as well just not
I become a bigger load than my already giant load.
But my sister Natalie is going to be there with probably at least 2 out of 3 of her kids, my nieces. And she has been getting crazy.
Yes, Jill's niece, a.k.a. her future partner.
That is correct. I have a 7-year-old niece, which is better than having a 7-year-old daughter because I didn't have to birth her myself. And that means...
And you don't have to pay for her schooling or
none
her
of it,
food.
none of it. And that means in 8 years, she will be holding me up. I will be 41. She will be 15. And we will be, I think, kind of without a doubt, the #1 doubles team in the world. I'm just going to let her run
The only
around.
ones who will give you a run for your money is Elise Jones and her daughter, who is like 8.
I like it. In all seriousness, my 7-year-old niece, I think she's 6 years old.
7 in pickle years.
She's 7 in 2 weeks. That's right.
Yeah, that's true.
She's already an unbelievable yellow ball tennis player.
Thanks to the other aunt, right? Oldest sister is the former tennis pro, skipped college, and has been drilling Coco on the tennis court for 3 days a week.
Yeah. No, I mean, she does 2 days.
Whatever, 3
she
years.
wakes up early and goes and plays. She plays in the afternoon. She does tennis camp at TTC. And then we were dinking 2 days ago, and we did 75 dinks in a row. It's unbelievable. Really unbelievable. She doesn't miss.
We've got Jack Pickleball already teed up for her mixed partner. So I think what's going to happen is Coco will cycle through me as a partner. First grandma as partner, then me, then mom, Jill's sister, as partner, and then she'll graduate to Jill, and then she will graduate from Jill and be Anna Leigh Waters' partner.
I think what could be fun is actually if I played left-handed with her and we could enter a tournament right now.
That would be awesome. I think you'd still be way too good, but you're basically ambidextrous. So maybe if you played one-footed, then it would be fair. Just hopping around. But anyway, yeah, not with the current hamstring.
No.
You broke rule number 1 of the hamstring.
What was that?
When you feel better, do less.
Take it easy. I know. Hamstrings
Such a hard
are tricky.
lesson.
Maybe if you're
Such a
listening
hard
to this
lesson.
and you've dealt with something similar, you can drop in the comments any advice you have for me other than my constant beamering, which has seemed to help. And speaking of beamer, we did have Dale reach out, one of our listeners. Hi, Dale.
Hey, Dale.
And you were inquiring about the beamer, Dale, but then we got started emailing. See what happens when you email this pblife@gmail.com. We respond. And so we were talking all about pickleball and injuries. And so Dale's going to take time off pickle, permanently kind of retire the paddles, or at least semi-permanently. He's been playing for 8 years, but it's kind of been 8 years of on and off injuries. And I think, I do think pain-free and injury-free pickleball does exist. I think it requires good form. And so Dale has kind of inspired me to start a video series. I've always wanted to do this where I review, 5 to 15 minutes of your pickleball footage. And I want to help you have better form, better mechanics. I think that will lead to more pain-free pickleball. I mean, Kristin, you remember when you were teaching me golf, I came to you and I had a reverse pivot, right?
Yeah, if you guys don't know, basically a reverse pivot is like a back bend towards the target at the top. So a lot of people end up that way. And I think especially somewhat flexible or tall women, but it really crunches your back. So even though Jill was already a 0 handicap, which is awesome if you don't know, when I met her, and she was bombing her drives with like a short shaft 270, she still was putting her body in a compromising position.
Yeah,
and I think that as a golf pro is one of my most important things I'm ever looking for. Like, people think they come to a golf pro to get better at golf, but really it's like, I want sustainable golf. I want sustainable pickleball. I want to be able to play pickleball like I'm 70 for 40 years.
Yeah. So with that said, the first 10 people who send me in clips of their video to thispblife@gmail.com, I'm going to analyze your video for free. It's really amazing how much your pickleball can improve with 1 to 3 key tips. There's feel and then there's real. There's like what we think we're doing. Like, oh, we think the paddle's in front of us. It's not.
Yeah, speaking of which, just doing the exercise of recording yourself and you watch it back,
is
you will be
helpful.
surprised how much you learn without Jill's help. I can't tell you how many people I play with who are like, oh, you're recording this match? Can I see it? And I'm like, you have a phone. My tripod costs $25. You should be doing this. There's no reason not to video.
And my biggest pet peeve in pickleball is there's some, Instagram pickleball influencers who are out there creating educational content. And a lot of it's just, it's bad advice. I don't really have another word for it. Kristin taught me this phrase that I love because it's the truth, and it's amateurs teach amateurs to be amateurs.
That was a Johnny Walla special. We're going to get into him later.
Oh boy, we have a lot to talk about with Johnny Walla. Yeah. So I think I have some least favorite pieces of advice.
Yeah, they mean well, but not everything out there in the social space has to be educational. In fact, we do Jill's educational videos, and they're some of the least viewed videos compared to the silly funny stuff. So just stick to the silly funny stuff and leave the pros to give the advice. But what's your least favorite golf cliches? I'm sorry, pickleball cliches.
I've got a lot of golf cliches. Keep that left arm straight.
Totally.
What are your least favorite golf cliches?
My least favorite golf cliche, number one, number 2, and number 3 is keep your head down. It's just so bad for any rotation. Yeah. But keep your left arm straight's up there too. And then trying to do both of those at once is physically impossible. So don't get me started. But what are your least favorite pieces of pickleball advice that you hear all the time?
I'm so sorry to inform you that 2 of my favorite pieces of pickleball advice
are the bad golf advice.
I was actually
thinking about that.
Keep your head down, keep your arms straight.
Different sport.
Okay, so here are my my least favorite pieces of pickleball advice. This is bad advice. Okay, guys. Take every single ball in the air at all costs. Hit it high and you die. This is in regards to dinking. Get to the kitchen as quickly as possible. And then the middle ball is always the left side player.
Yeah. And keep in mind, obviously these things come from somewhere. Just like the bad golf advice, bad pickleball advice comes from some element of truth. It doesn't mean do the exact opposite. It just means that when people get so diehard focused on these things that aren't as important as people like to think they are, they actually end up backfiring. And by trying to hit your dinks so low, you end up hitting it in the net. By trying to keep your head down in a golf swing, you end up eliminating any flow and rotation into your follow through. So just keep in mind where the source of your advice is coming from, and get yourself to a decent pro. But I think part of the problem is there's just not enough good instruction.
Oh, I mean, it's so nascent. So. Pickleball instruction is so nascent. I mean, I think frankly, you're way better off. And this might be the best advice I ever give on the pod. You are so much better off getting on YouTube and Googling Sarah Ansbury pickleball instruction, me, Jill Braverman pickleball instruction, Kyle Yates, Simone Jardim, Dan Raditi. If I left anyone out, Tyson McGuffin. If I left anyone out, it's not that I don't love them. I'm just probably not thinking. But start there.
Yeah. And you'll have plenty of content
and that's,
just with Sarah.
That's better than taking a lesson from your local pro who's PPR, PTR, USPTA certified. Again, that's literally no knock on those teaching organizations. I just think pickleball instruction is really nascent. And there's no such thing as bad pickleball players, but there is such thing as bad pickleball advice.
Okay, and then for your 30-second elevator pitch, what do you think is the biggest thing form-wise to eliminate injury?
Oh, okay. That's easy. Yeah. If you ski, you want to keep your chest pointing downhill, right? So I equate that to if you're playing pickleball, you really want to be chest pointing as much as possible at the net, right? You're on like a train track, a parallel train track to the net, and your feet are on that track. So as much as you can like keep your feet under you. Where people get in trouble is the lunge. And I thought Scott Fliegelman, the owner of Boulder Pickleball Club, when we did our clinic, sold out clinic last month, he did such a brilliant job of talking about, well, keeping your shoulders level. Like,
yeah,
I'd never considered
some good clips to look for in regards to that. We're going to be dropping soon.
Right. I've never considered that. So I'd rather see you like not get to a ball than lunge for a ball and fall over, or let your shoulders get unlevel and fall over. So when I talk about like pickleball mechanics and court sense, it's like putting yourself in a good position with your feet, with your body, to not have injury, to not fall. I watched a woman fall 3 times, not one, not twice, but 3 times when I was training in Newport Beach with my sister last week.
She was just like the lady on the court next to you.
Yeah. And I do think a lot of it, frankly, is shoes. Like, you know, court shoes, tennis shoes are like built with really high ankle supports. So, you know, this is not an advertisement for Mizuno. I don't get paid anything by Mizuno. They just make the best freaking shoes. Like, I do have a discount code for podcast listeners. So I think your footwear is critical.
Jilly B 10.
I can't remember what it is.
I think it's Jilly B 10.
I think it's 10 Jilly B for 10% off.
We're going to find out.
So yeah, Kristin, I think keeping your shoulders level, keeping your feet underneath you, mastering that like lateral movement as much as possible.
Yeah. Oh, it's 10 JB 2023.
Okay.
10
we
JB
were nowhere
2023.
near that.
MizunoUSA.com. But yeah, it's the same advice I literally gave my mom once when we were hiking, and my mom kept falling because, you know, Aspen, we're hiking, it's rocks, it's dirt, it's slippery. And the instinct when you fall is the same thing that happens to skateboarders going down a ramp for the first time, and the same thing that happens to skiers. They lean back away from the hill. But the key is to like go with the trip, go with the fall, keep your feet underneath you. And I think it's basically the same concept, that if you consider yourself like a bobblehead floating on top of your legs, and those legs are tickety-tickety-tockety moving around, facing the net, but facing the ball, facing the target as much as you can, then what you can get to, you get to. The problem is people are a little late, a little lazy, and then that laziness backfires because at the very last second, they do some massive lunge, they pull a muscle in their back, they have sciatica, they're doing a move that they haven't done since 1973, and this is why $400 million gets poured into the pockets of all these orthopedists. And I want to remind people, I injured myself skiing, okay? So it's not a pickleball injury.
I tore her meniscus playing pickleball, though.
So
we got on
thank you, Dale.
Yeah, so we got on this
wrap up the
tangent
Dale.
with Dale, and so thank you, Dale. And then Dale was nice enough to also write in about how much he appreciated that our pod is on the positive side, you know, in how a lot of the other podcasts, especially run by pros, are like so negative, so gossipy. And it's interesting because I get a lot of people writing in like, oh, are you going to respond to like so-and-so's comment about you? And it becomes this like universe of he said this, she said this, then she said this to retaliate. And then he said this to what she said. And I just feel like that negativity on other podcasts is so unsustainable for like long-term viewership. It's so not saleable to
like, what are
sponsors.
you selling?
It's such a bad look. And what Dale said really resonated with me. He said, I leave listening to your podcast feeling good after.
Yeah. And that's what we love. I mean, when pickleball wins, we all wins. Lean into the love. Pickleball is joy.
Pickleball is joy.
We're really, really happy that the people that do listen to us get it. And share, subscribe, and spread the love. Bring in the questions. Tell us what you want to hear us talk about. And if you want more, you know, pickleball insider stuff, we're happy to give you as much insight as we can of the behind the scenes, behind the ropes stuff, but just not going low. only punching up.
Well, I think Gary
always going
Vaynerchuk,
high.
who coincidentally owns an MLP team, and that's why I got into consuming his content, which is amazing. Gary V, he talks about like approach all negativity with empathy. Like the pain to live in their headspace is immense, and
I know.
I totally agree with
know.
him.
I always feel that way. Jill always makes fun of me because I can empathize with Ted Bundy. But it's like, look, I don't go around the planet like wanting to kill people. I get it. Like if you have the urge to kill someone, like that's tough. I don't have to fight that fight. So if you go around the world
Kristin
hating
empathizing with a
people,
serial killer,
and you're like trying actively to, have vicious, malicious thoughts in your head about other people, like that's got to be tough. I'm so glad that like my instinct for life is, well, it could be worse. Like what's the good thing that came out of this? And even though we got stuck in DIA, how did we get home? And what was the good that came of our foibles in
wait, is Denver
air travel?
airport code DIA?
Denver International Airport is what the full name of the airport is called, but it's DEN as an airport
Okay, that's
code,
what I thought.
so
That's
it's
what
really
I thought.
confusing. But everyone always calls it DIA.
I loved that segue of like turning negatives
it was
into
like
positives.
accidentally
It was so
purposeful.
good. It was so good because I have learned that with travel, here's my travel analogy. The pain is relative. And what I mean by that is when we stepped off our flight from Aspen to Denver, we missed our connection. And Kristin gets a text that says you've been auto booked on the next flight to Los Angeles. And because we didn't book our reservation together, big mistake, by the way.
Jill got waylaid to San Francisco. So we look at her app and we're like, we're not even on the same flight. How is this possible?
And like hours apart from each other.
Not to mention, she has to go to San Francisco and then to LA. Or maybe you were going to go San Francisco to SNA and I was going to go to LA.
So
it was
of
nightmare.
course we're like distraught, which
not to mention we saw our plane. Like the plane we quote unquote missed, we were looking at out the window. Like it was there. It had not left.
It was the first time a United flight didn't wait that I've experienced 5 minutes for the connecting flight. And apparently there was weather and the flight wanted to get out. So this is what I mean about travel pain being a relative thing. So now we're like frustrated that she's going on one flight, I'm going on another, but hey, we're going to end up at the same place within a couple hours of each other. And it's our original destination. No big deal. But then
Cancel.
Not
to mention there was another flight to SNA that got canceled first. So then we're like, okay, so we can't go to LA. She's on this flight to San Francisco that makes no sense. And then they wanted to put us on something else that was delayed to like 10 p.m. Then we found, okay, let's go to San Diego together. We convinced some random gate agent, not even at the lengthy line at customer service that we walked past that had like 500 people in line. And now we get on this, we're supposed to take the San Diego flight. And Jill's like, I don't trust it. I don't know that this is going to get us home. So
I had bad vibes.
Let's get a backup option.
So I pulled out my American Express.
Every good Jill story starts with, so I pulled out my
Every
American
good Jill
Express.
story starts with, I'm going to use money to somehow get out of this.
I'm not sure that's the messaging we want to send to our
No,
listeners,
but that's my
money
my default is
it expands your options, let's just say.
My default is like pay for the solution now, figure out the cleanup later, which I'm in the process of doing with United. So we booked the last 2 flights on a Southwest flight. And thank God we did, because the San Diego flight gets canceled. So my point with travel pain being relative is now at least we're like, well, we're getting out. Like, who cares that it was like 7 hours later and we've been in like the United Club for 7 hours? Like, we're at least just going home.
Growing up in Colorado would teach me a lesson about Denver. But no, there's just no avoiding it sometimes. It's just trouble.
So we get home to Southwest, the last plane in before curfew. Yes, there are airports with curfew to not bother the
we have
Orange
been victim
County
of that
residents
several times, which if you don't realize, it's like, oh no, it's too late in the air to be noisy. So they're like, sorry, we're not actually going to land where we said we were going to land when you purchased your ticket. We're going to land in LAX, which is at best 45 minutes to an hour and a half away. And it's, of course, a curfew problem. So you're not only doing that, but you're landing at like 11 p.m. and you don't even get to land at your destination. Just
so we book on Southwest, which means our bags, 4 bags, where do they go? And that's when we get home and find out
where they go.
One of my bags.
Well, first of all, they went to San Diego because that's where they rebooked us. And then we're like, all right, we got to convince them that they can't take the bags on a flight because we knew there's no flight to SNA. So we try and convince them that they need to drive our bags from San Diego. And I'm like, maybe we can drive like within 40 miles. Maybe they'll meet us somewhere. And then Jill's like, no, I think actually it's fine if they all get on a flight to somewhere else and then to SNA. Like, at least they'll be together. We have tracking. I have an air tag in one of my bags, not all 4. And so I am actively watching. And they do end up going back to Denver and then to SNA. Or did they go?
They went Denver, San Francisco, Orange County.
Denver, then San Francisco.
And we're
can't make this stuff up.
And it is so crazy what ended up happening with my bag. You're not going to want to miss this. It did involve theft, and it did involve a sheriff. We're going to get back to that in literally 30 seconds. First, a word from one of my favorite sponsors. You're not supposed to choose between your children. I love all my sponsors equally. Okay.
Just suffice to say a word from a sponsor.
Okay.
And we'll leave that up as a mystery for the next 4 seconds.
Ruck Solar Packs. Do you have someone in your life who's impossible to shop for? The Ruck Solar Pack is definitely our favorite pickleball bag. It's also sleek, fits your laptop, your paddles, and it has a solar panel to charge all the devices. Like
a solar panel. Like,
cool is
who
that?
comes up with that? That is the coolest idea ever. It literally charges your devices from the solar pack while you're playing pickleball. I mean, does it get better than that? I don't think so.
You can visit ruckpack.com. That's RUKPACK.com. You can use code Jilly B for 15% off your next order. Also, I love the price point of these products.
Yeah, you're definitely getting a bang for your buck. Yeah. Like, the zippers are nice. The laptop sleeve is like extra padded and super, super soft. You can really tell that a lot of love goes into these bags. They are well made. So don't forget RUKPACK.com and use code JillyB for 15% off on your next order.
So we finally make it back to Orange County. And then 2 days later, our bags make it to us. Or should I say 3 bags.
And literally the baggage claim supervisor or attendant.
I called her baggage claim lady, but you're right, probably supervisor.
Bag.
I called her bag lady. No, I'm just kidding.
Bag lady. That's where I was trying to get to. And she calls in, she's like, so I had all 4 of your bags. And then I turned around to help someone else. And when I looked back over, they were all ready to get put onto a van and get driven to your house. And there were only 3.
I was like, so you're telling me?
Oh God, please tell me it was my golf clubs. I don't care at all about my golf clubs. Please tell me it was the golf clubs.
She doesn't care about her $5,000 golf clubs.
Had my air tag in it.
Yeah, she doesn't care about her $5,000 golf clubs, which is unbelievable to me. But
although I did put a bunch of extra stuff in there, so that would have been sad.
PXG
Maybe the stroller.
Why
wasn't it the stroller?
Yeah, why didn't someone take a stroller we brought back for Kristen's brother
have no kids.
Who's having
this
a baby?
This stroller was just literally free shipping for my brother who is expecting a child with his wife, and we're bringing their stroller. But no, they didn't steal the stroller. They didn't steal my golf clubs.
With the air tag. Your golf clubs had the air tag.
Bag?
A little orange and red duffel.
Oh, yeah, like random extra duffel. Who cares? But no, they stole the one more important bag than any bag. Jill's roller. It's army green and
well, so I say to the bag lady, I go,
like, it
what
doesn't
do you,
even look that normal.
I say to the bag lady, so let me get this straight. Our baggage went from Aspen to Denver to San Diego to Denver to San Francisco to Newport Beach. You get all 4 of our bags off the roundabout thingy-majigger. What's that called? Carousel. The carousel.
Okay, this story just developed a lot more drama because Toby is literally trying to investigate tipping your
Toby.
Dink Me mug off of
You're
the
interrupting
cat
the
tower.
suspense of the story.
I'm adding to the suspense of the story.
And then you pull the 4 bags to like the roped area. And she goes, no, I didn't have it behind the roped area. I go, why didn't you have it behind the roped area? She goes, because it was about to get loaded, like 15 minutes. It was just 15 more minutes. It was going to get loaded onto a shuttle and driven to you. And I was like, so you had our bags in your sight and you lost one of our bags. And I'm just like, I can't believe this. And she's like, yeah, someone just grabbed it. And I'm like, what? Someone just grabbed it? What do you mean? It's green. She goes, you know, it happens all the time. I'm sure it'll turn up. So 3 days later.
Meanwhile, we're like writing stories in our head. We're like, okay, so if it's a person who lives close by, they open the bag and they're like, this isn't my stuff, but they're too rich and lazy to bring it back. Or it's someone who's like, oh my God, I live 4 hours away and I just flew into SNA to drive to my house and now I'm 4 hours away. I'm not driving it back to the airport. Or like, in what scenario is 2 days later your bag's still going to end up back in your possession?
Totally. And I'm just like distraught. All my competition clothes are in there, my DOP kit, all these like little things, like your, underwear, your socks. Thank you to OS First, by the way, for sending me new socks. Thank you.
The most important part.
Great socks, by the way.
Any outfit starts from the ground up.
It's true. So Kristin gets surgery on Monday, and on Tuesday I go to the airport, park my car, and go to the sheriff's office, which is an unmarked door in baggage claim. And
as if to say that if they marked it sheriff, people would just be pounding on that thing all day. I need a sheriff.
It was kind of like a hidden door. It was kind of cool. So Sergeant Walls comes out, God bless her, takes my report and is like, so when did this happen? She's like, I'll be right back. Goes, reviews a bunch of, CCTV, comes out, shows me her cell phone and goes, is this your bag? I said, yeah, I think that's my bag. She goes, yeah, let me go investigate this. Like, let me get your phone number. Bye. 3 hours later, I get a call from Officer Walls and she's like, I found your bag. And I'm like, you found my bag? I go, how? And she says, it's a really long story. I don't want to get into it. And I've just spent the past 3 hours watching it go through the entire airport to end up in a different terminal, abandoned in the middle of that other terminal. And then an employee picked it up and took it to Lost and Found. And there it was at Lost and Found with no tags, not my name tag, not my luggage tags.
So the person who stole it literally was like, first thing I always do when I grab my bag from the baggage claim is remove the baggage tags. Like, I don't remove those things until I take the next trip. And if that, sometimes the airport has to take them off before I do. Who takes those things off in the airport?
So here's the roundabout lesson. If you have made it through listening to this story, buy AirTags, okay? They're like $20 a pop, if that.
We are not sponsored by Apple.
No, we're not. Yet.
Yet.
Apple, are you listening? Tim,
Apple,
are you listening?
Can you hear me?
Tim Cook.
Yes, AirTags. And we learned this lesson. Jill was so pissed at me. She's like, you put an AirTag in your bag, but not mine? And I was like, it wasn't malicious. I bought the AirTags before you bought the suitcase. I just kept forgetting.
I was mad.
I also threw away an AirTag because our luggage broke that went to a landfill. So I'm literally looking at the AirTag. And I'm like, oh yeah, it went to the landfill. Now we know where our trash goes.
Other growth hack I learned. Seriously, there's been a lot of good growth hacks in this podcast. I watched someone go up to the United baggage claim desk and they were like, look, my luggage is broken. And United will just hand you literally like brand new, really nice luggage. They let you pick out the size and the color that you want. And like,
what?
I didn't tell you this. I didn't tell you this. It was the craziest thing. Yeah. And we've had our luggage broken on United before and I didn't know
in the middle of the trip. I was literally 3-wheeling it the entire time in Hawaii.
I know. By the way, if you ever try and carry or drag your luggage when it's missing a wheel, it's horrific. Like, why did we do that? We should have just bought new luggage when we were there. That was dumb of us.
I know, that was really dumb.
That was so dumb of us.
But yeah, if
United will literally
give it to you.
And they give you the option to fill out a form, and then like they'll reimburse you for a percentage of your luggage.
Or they're like sponsored by Samsonite or something.
It was really nice luggage. Seriously.
Luggage.
Like the shoes.
It is probably cheaper for them to buy it at cost and literally just give it to you than like some fictitious receipt people come up with. They're like, yeah, it was a Rolex luggage bag for sure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I will throw in this one small tidbit because here's Jill like being punished for thinking outside the box and getting us home on Southwest, and her bag goes missing and I have the air tags and it's not in hers. Here's the luck I have. One time I got to S&A. I went to the bathroom with my suitcase, left it in the bathroom, didn't think about it for another hour, was sitting at my gate, going to board. I was like, oh, my luggage. I think I must have left it at the bathroom. Go back to the bathroom, right where I left it. Second time, we're going to Europe, and I got waylaid, so I was already punished this day. So I deserved a little bit of a throwback, a little bit of a tip towards the positive. But in Newark Airport, I got waylaid overnight and changed my flight. So I was like, where's my bag gonna end up? And I show up the next day at whatever, like 4 o'clock for my flight, which I also accidentally got the time wrong and showed up for the time. Like I showed up early, but for my second flight, but my first flight ended up delayed. So I still caught on the original flight and I had a really long layover. So it was fine. And then I went to like, where is my bag going to be? And I walk to some random carousel and I'm like, oh, there it is. There's my bag. And it just showed up for me right when I walked past it. So a little bit different luck spectrum on the luggage from Jill and myself.
We have multiple times now. I wonder if TSA is hey Jill, how did you lose your TSA pre-check? Well, on my podcast, I talked about some shady stuff that we've done in airports, but I have a couple more growth hacks. That is like the second or third time we've just abandoned our luggage on a United flight and been like we did that in Israel.
The less you tell them the truth, the better you are.
We did that in Israel. Yeah. We literally abandoned our luggage in Tel Aviv and we're like, it will find us. It will make its way back to us, but we were going to miss our connection to get back to the States.
Yeah, we got punished for that one though. Do you remember?
Oh my God,
we
can't talk about that right now.
To that connection. I can't. I have to. The people need to know. No. That was a curfew.
No, okay. we sat on the runway at New Jersey for 4 hours. There were like brutal. Babies crying. They had to pass out water. It was 100 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Like people, it was like
there's literally
Lord
a doctor.
of the Flies on an airplane.
Yeah. There was literally a doctor on that flight who was like, I have surgery tomorrow. I cannot miss it. Yeah. So she left the airport and went to JFK from Newark. And if you have never experienced that, that is insane. She went from JFK to Newark, from Newark to JFK, just to catch a different flight to get home to do her surgery the next day. That's dedication.
One more travel hack for everyone. Zane Navratil taught us this.
Oh yeah, this is a goodie.
You go ahead.
So if you're worried about missing the cutoff to check your bag before getting on a flight, take it with you. Even though you know full well that it is too big, TSA will not stop you. Mm-hmm. They'll just say, I don't think that's small enough. But the gate agents are the ones who actually prevent that. So if you just run straight to TSA, go through the checkpoint, get to your gate, and then they're like, dude, your bag is huge. We need to check that. Yeah, they'll just check it for you. But you still saved yourself the 25 minutes it takes to wait in line to check your bags.
Yeah. That's really brilliant. It really is.
Yeah.
Because think about how often they gate check. We'll just gate check it.
Yeah, so again, in the world of positivity, like you just have to take the knocks with the good luck, because we definitely have had our fair share of good luck.
It does seem to me that invariably Southwest and Spirit Airlines get off the ground. They literally just find a way. Like, it's the Southwest cowboy mentality, and the fact that these poor Spirit Airlines pilots are running like Spirit's running.
Don't know any better because they're the first year out of pilot school.
No, Spirit's running on like a 5% profit margin or something, like really low. So they're like, we cannot afford to
these
not
passengers
get this plane out. Like,
totally.
Maybe it's that like airlines that start with an S get out. Like, I don't know.
I thought
they
just
get off the
Socialist ground. Airlines.
Socialist Airlines. Southwest, where you do not get to select your seat, where you are treated equally.
There is no first class. Oh, man. Okay, so back to why we were even traveling in the first place. We did go to Aspen. We filmed our pod from Aspen at the beginning of our trip.
Nature pod.
And then what? What did you enjoy most in Aspen?
I would say that I always enjoy fishing with your father.
It's a good thing because I don't enjoy fishing with my father, so he finally has someone to fish with. What do you think are the secrets to the Johnny Walla fisher?
Well, every time
whisperer?
I see Kristin's family, I learn something new that, I can't unlearn. I can't unsee it,
Yeah,
and
it's just that memorable.
This time when we went fishing, it wasn't like in a pond or a stream or even a river like last time. This time your dad took me to a golf course lake.
Those of you who know, People fish in golf courses all the time. In fact, there are a lot of places where people want to, and they try and stop you.
I don't know if I told you this, but at one point we had our hard fought little piece of the lake that we were fishing from, and this
right, there's competition.
Yeah, there's this 6-year-old boy pulls up and his dad, and they go to put down their blanket 15 feet from us, and before I can say hi, good afternoon, your dad's like, this spot's taken. Thou shalt not go here. And I'm like,
you didn't just whip your fly into their area a few times.
And
oh, sorry, I got your hat.
Before I can be like, Dad, it's okay. He's 6. Your dad's there's other spots. And they totally start to get into it. And the other dad is no, there really aren't. And your dad's how about that one 50 feet away? He's well, that one's not great because it's really shallow. And dad's hey, buddy, we were here first. And it was just the funniest.
I'm sorry I missed that.
Funniest thing ever. And then so we're fishing in the pond. There's all this competition. And,
it's actually a pretty cool pond because you can see the fish. So you kind of get a glimmer of okay, I know they're out there. Where that's part of my frustration with fishing is you're just I'm just going to throw a piece of string far, far away and hope that maybe there's a fish that happens on by. I think I would enjoy hunting where you're okay, there's the deer, aim at it, pull trigger. Okay, there's the turkey. But fishing, you're flying blind here.
Well, I love fishing, and I never quite experienced it like this. And on this day where there was such heated competition for the fish, and by the way, I'm famous for my last fishing trip catching a twig, a really heavy, I don't know, I think it was a branch. It was heavy. So
I'm good at catching
a branch,
algae.
Reeled it in without breaking my line, and then having I actually did catch a fish. It was a massive fight. I finally reel it in. It's a guppy, literally, I don't know, less than a pound. So anyway, it's with this stellar track record that I find myself fighting for my position against a 6-year-old and his father at the golf course pond. And we're having no success. It's fine. I'm drinking my Miller Lite. It's all good. I'm enjoying time with your father. And then he reaches into his pocket and he throws something that looks like cat food, kibbles, into the pond. And I look at John and go, what was that? And he goes, cat food, kibbles.
Chum. You gotta chum the waters.
So now there's this feeding frenzy for fish. And they're everywhere. What's going on over there? Are they chumming the waters? No way. Yes, we are. And then it becomes a game of can you just throw your fly and the lure literally onto the fish's head and hope they bite it? It was a game of whack-a-mole.
If you knock the fish out, maybe with a nice bonk on the head, then they aren't seeing straight and they accidentally bite your fly.
It was literally
is that the goal?
Yeah, it was whack-a-mole. Yeah. And I did catch a really decent sized fish, and I did learn a lot.
Insert the picture of your fish onto the pod.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet of you. And
we do have footage of that, don't we?
Look who caught a fishy.
But he used to fight. Now he's not fighting. He's turning upside down. I think he's dying.
He's playing dead so that you give up.
Dad, come on, save it.
There we go.
I don't feel good about myself.
I'm famous for my fishing outfits too, so be sure to get the vest.
Oh,
The
yeah.
vest is money.
The fishing vest really completes the outfit. Otherwise, you feel like you're just going, for a walk in the park. But I will say, in fairness, the reason that they were specifically only fishing at the golf course pond was because I didn't want Jill walking on rocks with her current hamstring issue. So it was a safety first situation. It wasn't just like a amateur hour. But
This
yeah.
is like, tell me my dad's a redneck without telling me my dad's a redneck.
But yes, if my dad wasn't a redneck for having 3-foot tall weeds in the front yard, random sporting goods on the front door, and a couple of tire run flat cars in the driveway, he is officially a redneck for fishing with kitty kibbles.
Oh, we love your dad though.
But he earns it. My dad marches to the beat of his own drum, and he has never conformed to anyone's idea of normal, and I do appreciate that about him. Just don't tell him, okay? No.
But we aren't
super
snobs about everything, okay?
We are snobs about some things, but not fishing. But we are snobs about our lattes.
We are snobs about our lattes. But look, we're not buying $5 lattes at Starbucks.
Oh, no. Not $5 lattes. $9 lattes at every place we found in Aspen, which I know you're thinking, like, you grew up in Aspen, don't you know all the coffee shops? But no, Aspen is like New York. If you eat at all the restaurants, by the time you finish eating at all the restaurants, the first one went out of business and there's a new one there. Yep. So every time I go back home, I get to experience a whole host of new restaurants.
Yep.
It's half the fun.
Yeah.
So we really liked, Jill always loves Illy. So wherever there's an Illy at the Gorsuch, which the thing is where you got your on clouds, actually.
Yes. And that's where someone came up to us and said, are you guys the pickleball girls?
Yeah.
Felt
Right
very
after that 1 million views we got on that. Now we're up to what, 3.3 views on that?
No, I think it's like
cult video?
3.5.
Wow.
3.5 million.
Wow. Who hasn't seen us? It always makes me wonder how many people have seen us 3 or 4 times.
If only those 3.5 million views could have translated to paying for our coffee for that week.
Yeah, like 1 penny on a view. Is that reasonable? Yeah, so we did Illy, we did Ink, we did Local House, which local coffee house. The only problem with local coffee house is the mandatory 22% gratuity. But I love their coffee the best. But I also appreciated, what was it called? Untangled, Unravel, Untether, Unwritten. So we had a minor scare where Jill was afeared of the recording on her audio.
Jill was afeared that the recording stopped, and Kristin's afeared that we have alienated and ostracized our entire audience, considering this podcast has had little to do with pickleball.
We warned you it was not going to be about pickleball. So we either gained an audience we never thought we'd find, or we lost half our audience. So thanks. But at least we have chapters, so you're totally welcome to skip stuff if you don't.
Because this next chapter is pickleball related, and I do think it is really funny.
Yeah. I will say the analytics say that if you make it past the first 3 minutes, you usually listen to the whole thing. So we hear you, we see you, and we love you.
We need to make our first 3 minutes way better. Why have you waited to tell me this on pod 17?
Because as TikTok told us, we're old and I'm forgetful.
Okay, that actually is true. Sidebar, 1 second. We are old on TikTok. We know this because there have been 17-year-olds commenting about how old they think we are.
To the effect of how old they are. But I quote something to the effect of, I hope when I'm old, I'm not this lame. Ouch. And just so you have some context, if you aren't following us on TikTok, that happened on our bird call video that we followed up our cult to pickleball video with. And I thought it was pretty funny. You really got to give it all. You really got to lay it all out there. So it is what it is. If you think we're lame, That is fine.
I
will
think
take
the bird
it.
call video is some of your best work, Kristin, and it's amazing you were able, without an ACL and missing 2 sides of your meniscus, to run across your backyard making bird calls. That was really really cool.
Dr. Leigh saw that?
Shout out to Dr. Leigh.
Was hurling in his tracks. So yeah. So Aspen was fun. We found the best coffee. What I loved about Unravel, not Untangle, not Untether, not Unwritten, Unravel, which is across from the Wheeler Opera House, upstairs from Eric's, is they recycle jars. So if you order your coffee to go, they don't give you a paper mug. They give you a jar, like from honey or from like peanut butter or some glass jar, and that's what they put the coffee in. And I just thought that was so ingenious.
Oh my God, here we go. I mean, this is really an off pod for you and I in terms of seeing eye to eye. Yeah, it was really nice to have my fingers burned by the glass. Like, who puts something piping hot in glass? Like, I want my coffee cup, okay? I want my coffee cup. And you know what else I want? I want the sleeve that goes around my disposable coffee cup.
Wasteful.
I want both of those things. And I want to throw both of those things away in a compostable bin or a recyclable bin afterwards. But no, I did not like the drinking my coffee out of a mason jar. That was too hipster for me. I guess not hipster enough.
Hipster level 8.5 is where Jill is lost.
Yeah.
I
went to the Starbucks.
A hipster level 12. She poured her hipster mug into a paper cup that she got at the next place. No, but she did try to toss it in a bin, and I was like, no, I'm taking both of ours back to the source. We parked there.
No,
I'll leave it here. I'll come back for it.
I didn't try and toss it into a bin.
You succeeded at tossing into a bin.
Okay, here's the truth. The truth is I was really worked up about something MLP related. And I can't even remember what that was, but it was such that I needed both of my hands to be able to do like air gestures at the person with whom I was speaking through my earbuds. And whenever I have my earbuds,
translation, 90% chance it was her sister, because Jill spends 90% of the day on the phone with her sister.
That's actually true. So I had my earbuds, AirPods, whatever you want to call them in, and I'm like probably talking louder than I should be, walking through the streets of Aspen with my burnt fingerprints.
Because she orders extra hot. If you just ordered normal temperature, you'd be fine.
And I'm speaking a little bit louder than normal because, again, I've got the noise cancellation on. And then all of a sudden,
so you're aware.
All of a sudden, I feel an elbow in my ribs. And I'm like, ow, what, Kristin? And she looks at me and goes, Collin Johns is sitting right there. You might want to stop screaming about whatever it is you're mad about, MLP related or like pickleball related.
True story. And I didn't even have my prescription glasses in. So props to me for recognizing Collin Johns from at least like 40 feet away across the street.
Oh my God. One and only. So funny. So I kind of like covertly walked past him, hoping he didn't hear whatever like tirade I was on. Not that he would probably care, but still.
Which was, by the way, at the third coffee shop we had visited that day where we got a bagel. We didn't even get a coffee at that coffee shop. That was a mainstay.
And I just remember passing him and hoping and saying to myself, like, I hope we can still get our bagel from there.
Yeah. No, so we got the bagel from there, and then 2 days later we go back to that same coffee shop for ice cream, Paradise Bakery, my favorite place. We actually had their ice cream and cookies at our wedding, but we run into yet another pro pickleball player, Alex Newman.
That's right.
So where do the pickleball pros hang out in Aspen? Paradise
Bakery.
Which apparently, Anna Leigh Waters was there at some point because we saw she was in Aspen too. So.
Yeah, and we had just missed former interim CEO of MLP, Brian Levine, was there a couple weeks before.
Yeah.
Tom Dundon owns a home in Aspen. So,
people think Bainbridge Island is the mecca of pickleball, but no, it's Aspen, Colorado. All the minds of pickleball merge. So yeah, that's probably enough about Aspen. We made it home. We eventually did we finish the story about your suitcase?
I think that story's finished, but what we forgot to mention was really the best part of the entire travel home experience.
The blood test.
Which is the blood test.
Yes. So if you don't know, which I didn't remember doing this, the last time I had my ACL repaired, which, yes, was the other knee. I didn't re-injure it. It was the first knee. Now I have 2 bionic knees. Yes. So I am going to be set. So yeah, apparently you need a blood test before you have surgery to prove that you're not pregnant and you don't have like AIDS or low blood count or like something that could interfere with the anesthesia. Who knows? They're not checking your vitamin levels, but you apparently can't take vitamins beforehand. All this. I, of course, screwed up because I'm really excellent at scheduling and planning. But needless to say, I did have surgery. So somehow or other, I finagled my way into a blood test after we got back.
It was definitely like an added layer of stress knowing, oh my gosh, like.
And per usual, I'm sure Jill was more stressed than me about it because I'm like, well, it is what it is. Either they'll give me surgery tomorrow or they won't.
Why is your inner voice like Southern?
Because all of my voices are Southern unless
They're
they
Australian.
are Australian.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, let's zoom quickly through the last couple weeks of pickleball, and we'll circle back to that part.
I'd like to talk about Seattle first
later. So let's go in reverse.
So the Johns boys, Collin and Ben, they go down. And I was watching DJ play.
If you don't watch pro pickleball, the Johns brothers are basically undefeated. There's one team that had beat them in the entire history of pickleball, basically, until now. And that was, yes, Philip Locklear.
My other partner, Ben Newell and Philip Locklear. And this time it was DJ Young and Pat Smith. So DJ Young was demoted from Premier Challenger. He had some wrist injuries. I know during MLP. He's an artist of a player. Just, I think, one of the most talented players, male or female, on tour. And his partner, Pat Smith, very veteran, also very creative, very steady on the right side. And like I said, Pat didn't get drafted to Challenger, so I think didn't get drafted, period. So I think it's really interesting that obviously, you know, they do take down the Johns. And I'm playing with DJ at the next tournament at TOC, Tournament Champions in Brigham, Utah, after Takeya. And when I was watching DJ and Pat, I was like, oh my God, I think they're going to beat the Johns. Like, this is the formula. Even though they lost the first and the second, I felt like they had this fascinating formula where DJ took, I think, 90% of the thirds, and he would hit them inside out to Ben's backhand.
So that means he's on the left and he's hitting a forehand,
inside out,
like
forehand,
kind of an open palm, and then out towards the right.
Exactly. And Ben, for whatever reason, maybe DJ's thirds were like so perfect that they weren't earnable, but I felt like, yeah, Ben wasn't earning them. And so they were dropping. Ben would be kind of, you know, dropping perfectly. DJ's thirds were gorgeous. Ben would be dropping kind of back a little bit and then hitting very calm slice backhand, usually like cross court back. And it was just so interesting because that was just the plan of attack, was keep hitting to Ben. And I think in the real clear stats afterwards, it was like Ben hit like 69% of shots, like something way too high. Like their whole plan was get Ben out of position, and then Pat could attack Collin cross court. And then Collin would be like backing up on his back foot, trying to reset a one-handed backhand and like pop the ball up. And it just felt like, to me, that was the play over and over and over, was like, keep Ben honest, keep him out of this. That's what it looked like to me. I mean, did you have any?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because I was watching a different match on a different stream when this was going on, and Jill was like, you got to tune in. They're about to beat the Johns brothers. So I watched it like kind of separately and differently with Jill's general idea of what had happened while I was watching it. So it's under that context that I was like, yeah, it looks like he's hitting cross-court thirds to Ben's backhand, Ben's backing up, and it's giving them just a little bit of space. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me of a time that Jill had told me that a lot of times the way to beat a team where there's one really strong player who is covering the middle and punishing you is to hit every ball to that strong player's foot. And
get behind them,
Yeah, and if you just hit every ball to them, they can't pounce on any surprises because you're already aiming for them. And half of the kind of strength of a strong player and a weak player, so to speak. Not that Collin is weak. Obviously, he's a really talented player. But I often am playing against a team where there's like a really scary, tall, wide dude, and you're trying to hit every ball to the girl. But really, if you just hit every ball back to the guy, like there's only so much he can do with it. So it neutralizes him. So it was really interesting to see, knowing that the Johns brothers keep such really detailed notes on all their opponents and like seemingly have the best strategies out there. What will happen in the future if they ever, like, could DJ and Pat beat them again? Could other teams use this strategy to beat Ben and Collin again? Are there more strong players than ever in the game, or have Collin and Ben started to have less of a stranglehold on the field? We will come to see. But I did think that it was an interesting week for Ben. Obviously, he still came out with 2 gold medals, but he was given a run for his money by Xiaomei in singles, who went down 13-15 in the first game. So Xiaomei definitely had a chance to take that first game.
And as a reminder, that's going to be my MLP partner.
Exactly. And then the next match he played against Connor Garnett, who's also going to play with Jill at Nationals in Dallas. Connor ended up winning a set off of Ben in that very next game. So like Xiaomei had worn him out maybe, and then he got a game off him, and then going down.
No, Connor had match points. Am I?
Yeah. So Connor won one of the games.
Yeah.
Whereas Xiaomei lost 13-15, but he lost 13-15.
But not only did Connor win one of the games, Connor had match point, and it was just this unbelievable anxiety-laden game of pickleball. My heart was pounding. I have been fortunate to have recently like trained with Connor 3 weeks ago in Orange County. So yeah, I was watching it like glued, and just such kudos to Ben Johns to just find a different level and layer of grit down all of these match points, down these game points. It's really just something else.
Yeah.
It's just something else.
Yeah, I loved watching it, and I hope someone emerges that has that kind of matchup against Anna Leigh, because she has not been challenged in the same ways that we've
Are you saying you want me to come back to women's singles?
I mean, I sound like a broken record, so I'm not even going to say it.
I would really like to see.
But,
so congratulations to obviously Ben, Xiaomei, Connor Garnett. I mean, congrats to all of those guys. Wow, that Proxer paddle for singles.
Yeah. So not only that, but the other kind of upset victor that week was Ryan. What's his name? Eveloff.
Yes.
He also plays that Proxer paddle. And so does the other guy that kind of came out of nowhere.
Vukovic?
No, the Indian-looking sounding name, kind of like a solidly built guy.
Yes.
Beeman.
I was going to say it's like Baseman, Bosman.
Sorry, I should have written it down.
We should have done our research on this.
What a great pod. Spent all our time on chumming the water with kibbles, but we can't remember.
The guy's name.
Beekman.
Bosman. Braverman.
Beakerman. But he beat Ryan Sherry after Ryan Sherry played one of the most entertaining first-round matches I have ever seen against Kwang Dong. So, point being, watch Thursdays.
Yeah.
I love watching Thursdays, and I just love watching the brackets. Like, watching the brackets as they come through is actually half of the fun for me, of just being like, oh my God, look at that scoring. And look at, like Tyra took someone to 3 sets. I think Vivian. And like the things you don't see on the stream, you can see.
I would love to see
scoring.
Anna Leigh play men's singles. I would really like that. And I'm not saying that like to be funny or sarcastic. I'm genuinely saying I would love to see that. And I think it'd be great to prove DUPR right. Like, her DUPR is X in singles
6.3.
comparable to other male pros who are doing very well.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see what happens there. And frankly, I'd like to see her and Anna Bright, I'd love to see, her and Catherine or her and Anna Bright play a men's draw. I mean, we saw Annika Sorenstam playing men's pro events in golf. Michelle Wee. Like, I don't know. I think it'd be cool for publicity. I think it'd be cool just to display, again, this, like, beautiful part of pickleball, which is, it's kind of genderless. Like,
yeah.
It's a wiffle ball. It's plastic. There's holes in it. Like, it slows down.
Again, what's interesting, I think, about that Pro XR paddle is it's mostly a spin paddle. It's not designed to be the hottest, fastest paddle. Not that it doesn't have some heat, but singles seems to me to be so much a game of placement. It is more like golf, where you're like, I'm going to hit the shot behind you over there. I'm going to hit the shot over there. And even though wingspan obviously can cover at the net to a certain degree, like, you can't just bang, bang, bang to a singles victory if you know how to place balls. So I do think she would take down some competition, or at least give them a run.
For sure. No, I think she would do amazing.
So yeah, so definitely some fun stuff to watch at Seattle. Also, apparently they're tearing down all the courts that they built right after this. So even sadder, I guess, than us living across the street from Indian Wells Tennis Garden, which repaints back to tennis. They're fully tearing them down. So it's not even tennis courts, from what I gather. I could be wrong. Tell us in the comments if I'm totally off. But someone put up a fake pickleball funeral with, like, a pickleball dude, which was like amazing. A skeleton and a pickleball paddle buried alive. And it's sad, but they're tearing down all the courts that just got built. So I really wonder where the civic center city planner something or other made the call on that one. Any other thoughts on Seattle?
No, so you're saying the place that held the PPA event then had the courts torn down?
Yeah.
You're sure?
Well, I know that
I thought it was just like courts in Seattle were being torn down. It was like the actual host site?
It was like the PPA spent $100,000 to build courts, and then this week they bulldozed them.
Oh, okay.
But again, tell us in the comments if we're wrong. That was the story as I heard it written and told, and I think Anna mentioned something on her pod about walking past that funeral on her way to the courts.
Amazing.
And I was like, what is that over there?
That's amazing.
Not on her pod. She actually mentioned that in the interview after their finals on Sunday. So either way, I think, grow the game, grow the facilities. Pickleball courts are so much cheaper than so many other rec activities that are built, like golf. So make it happen, people. But yeah, I take it you want to move on, or did you have anything to add from Beer City, which also happened while we were away?
No, and I think next week we're going to have quite a bit to talk about, wrapping up the PPA Takeya.
Yeah. I do have one through line, though, that I wanted to mention, because we saw Tyra sliding around, not sure if she needs new shoes. Tyra obviously is comfortable sliding a lot. Some players just are naturally more slidey than others, but, people were mentioning, like, okay, Jill Braverman's off the hook from falling so much. But props to her. I mean, she got right back up and was still playing well till the very end in Beer City. Then Dylan took a dive in singles, and then in doubles hit Jessie Irvin in the eyeball, and she had a concussion. And they are now adapting the rules at MLP, not PPA, but just MLP, to eliminate paddles that are the color of the ball or white. So you can't have white, gray, or neon paddles anymore. And we're starting to see more and more players wearing glasses during events. So obviously people think that safety is a concern in this sport. And we're not talking about leg injuries and tripping. We're talking about head injuries and ball strikes. So what are your thoughts on eliminating paddles that are the wrong color, and which paddles do you think are going to have to get swapped out?
Yeah, I think if you've listened to our podcast before, when I played the PPA Atlanta, I played with Andre Deskew, and we were warming up, and he kept, I don't want to say like hitting me, that's not right, but I kept missing the ball, like on shots I wouldn't normally. And it took me about 30 seconds to realize in our warm up that I couldn't see the ball coming off his paddle. And I said, "Oh, I can't see the ball coming off your paddle. Your paddle's yellow. It's yellow and blue." And he's like, "Yeah, some people say that, but like I can see it just fine." And I was like, "Huh, that's really interesting. Like, I cannot believe that's legal." And then I see like, some other really well-known male pros playing with Selkirk paddles that are like gold and white. And I'm just like, come on, like, is your like natural advantage being that tall, like, not enough that you have to play a paddle that's really hard to see the ball come off of? Like, I do get like a little frustrated by that. And so I think that this is a great rule. It's a great rule for safety. I'm glad that Jesse's okay. I had to pass a concussion test when I was at MLP Daytona. Those are actually really tough to pass.
I mean, I was trying to pass the test mentally in my head while Jill was taking this test, and I literally would have failed.
So it's a balance test, and then it's a cognitive test, and you can actually go back to one of our podcasts. It's probably titled MLP Daytona, and we take you through like what the questions are, but they're intense. I mean, they're cognitively difficult regardless of head trauma or not. So no, I'm glad that
titled it Head Trauma Drama.
Head Trauma Drama. If we didn't, we should go back and retitle it. That's very funny.
But it was memorize these numbers in not sequential order and then repeat them back to me backwards. 14, 12, 3, 17. And you're like, wait, what?
He said I passed like 98%.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Anyway,
so yeah, I hope Jesse's okay. I know she was really bummed, apparently not to be able to play. Strictly based on the concussion test, which I know it's never easy to have someone else tell you can't play, which was my concern at MLP too, which is like, if you decide not to play, that's one thing, but if they tell you not to play, that's tough. So yeah, excited for next week, and we will circle back on the DUPR app.
Yep, we're going to be talking about next week, obviously PPA Takeya roundup. We're going to be talking about the 3 kisses of death for dinking. We're going to do an amateur video review, so don't forget to send us your video to thispblife@gmail.com. The first 10 people who send in the video, I'm going to do a review for free. We'll pick one of those to review on the pod. It's going to be a really good week, and I'm super pumped.
You want them to put them in a Google Drive and send you a link?
Yeah, Google Drive is great.
For bigger
that
videos.
Might be easiest. And we just want to remind everyone that like pickleball is joy. Thank you to everyone who says they love our pod because it is full of joy.
Don't take out the joy from the game that you cannot play without smiling. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
We out.
This Pickleball Life is a Tomahawk production, 100% organic, self-made, and homegrown. Music by K-Dubs, editing by K-Dubs and Jilly B. Check out pbgods.com and use code PBLifers for 10% off your next order. Do you have a question for Jilly B? Email us at thispblife@gmail.com to be included in future episodes. Don't forget to click subscribe.
This Pickleball Life.